Hello and welcome to day 3 of our ongoing exploring sessions, looking at Game at Chess on the 400th anniversary. Yes, literally 8 minutes ago, they would have started at the Globe 400 years ago, approximately. It might not be exactly the right day because these things are confusing, but I'm not going to go into that. I did that on a previous video, so I'm going to just move on. Anyway, 400 years ago, around about now, this play was happening, and so we're doing it a number of times. Hopefully, in totality, we will get 9 runs in to go with the 9 original performances. Minimum. They might have squeezed an extra one in, maybe more. There is some evidence they might have double banked some days. Anyway, we are reading the play in sort of a sort of roundabout way. So we're now starting today from Act 2, Scene 2. We read the beginning of the play at the end of last session. We've read it through officially at least once, and now we're hopefully going to complete our second run through before we go into slight textual variations and slightly different texts further down the line. I'm your host, Robert Crichton, and this is a wonderful room of people reading. Wave, everyone. Yes, they're live. They're real people. I haven't created them using a digital algorithm. So, without further ado, we're going to just dive straight into the text and keep going. People may be switching their cameras off or on, depending on how they fancy doing it. Just make sure that when you are on, that you are on, and ideally both in sound and vision when you do so. So, midway through the play, something terrible happened in the previous scene. Cover-ups are occurring to make sure that nobody knows about it. Meanwhile, we're introduced to a new character as Act 2, Scene 2 starts with the Fat Bishop.
Horn?
Tend at your great holiness service.
For great, I assure you, but for greatly holy. There the soil altars. Fat cathedral bodies have very often but lean little souls. Much like the lady in the lobster's head, a great deal of shell and garbage of all colours, but the pure part that should take wings and mount is at last gasp. As if a man should gape, and from his huge bulk let forth a butterfly. Like those big-bellied mountains which the poet delivers that are brought to bed with mouse flesh. Are my books printed, Pawn? My last invective against the Black House?
For publication, for I saw perfect books this morning, sir.
Fetch me a few, which I will instantly distribute amongst the White House.
With all speed, sir.
'Tis a most lordly life to rail at ease, sit, eat, and drink upon the fat of one kingdom, and rail upon another with the juice on't. I've writ this book out of the strength and marrow of 36 dishes at a meal, but most on't out of cullis of cock sparrows. 'Twill stick and glue the faster to the adversary. 'Twill slit the throat of their most calvish cause, and yet I ate but little butcher's meat in the conception. Of all things I commend the White House best for plenty and variety of victuals. When I was one of the black side professed, my flesh fell half a cubit. Time to turn when mine own ribs revolted. But to say true, I've no preferment yet that's suitable to the greatness of my person and my parts. I grant I live at ease, for I am made the master of the beds, the long acre of beds. But there's no marigolds that shuts and opens, flower gentles, Venus, baths, apples of love, pinks, hyacinths, honeysuckles, daffodils. There was a time I had more such drabs than beds. Now I have more beds than drabs. Yet there's no eminent trader deals in wholesale, but she and I have clapped a bargain up. Let in at Watergate, for which I've racked my tenants' purse strings so that they wang again. Yonder black knight, the fistula of Europe, whose disease once I undertook to cure with a high Holborn halter when he last vouchsafed to peep into my privileged lodgings, he saw good store of plate there, and rich hangings. He knew I brought none to the White House with me. I have not lost the use of my profession since I turned White House bishop.
Look, more books yet. Yond greasy turncoat gormandizing prelate doth work our house more mischief by his scripts, his fat and fulsome volumes, than the whole body of the adverse party.
Oh, it were a masterpiece of serpent subtlety to fetch him this side again.
And then damn him into the bag forever, or expose him against the adverse part, which now he feeds upon, and that would double damn him. My revenge has prompted me already. I'll confound him on both sides for the physic he prescribed and the base surgeon he provided for me. I'll tell thee what a most uncatholic jest he put upon me once, when my pain tortured me. He told me he had found a present cure for me, which I grew proud on and observed him seriously. What think you 'twas? Being execution day, he showed the hangman to me out at window, the common hangman.
Oh, insufferable!
I'll make him the balloon ball of the churches, and both the sides shall toss him. He looks like one, a thing swelled up with mingled drink and urine, and will bound well from one side to another. Come, you shall write. Our second bishop absent, which hath yet no employment in the game, perhaps nor ever shall, it may be one without his motion, it rests most in ours. He shall be flattered with sede vacante, make him believe he comes into his place, and that will fetch him with a vengeance to us. For I know powder is not more ambitious when the match meets it than his mind for mounting, as covetous and lecherous.
No more now, sir. Both the sides fill.
This hath been looked for long.
The stronger sting, it shoots into the blood of the black adversary. I am ashamed now I was theirs ever. What a lump I was when I was led in ignorance and blindness. I must confess I've all my lifetime played the fool, till now.
And now he plays two parts, the fool and the knave.
There is my recantation in the last leaf, writ like a Ciceronian in pure Latin.
Your honesty, the plainer Latin serves then.
Plague on those pestilent pamphlets. Those are they that wound our cause to the heart.
Here comes more anger.
But we come well provided for this storm.
Is this my pawn, she that should guard our person, or some pale figure of dejection, her shape usurping? Sorrow and affrightment have prevailed strangely with her.
King of integrity, queen of the same, and all the house professors of noble candor, uncorrupted justice, and the truth of heart, through my alone discovery, my life and honor wondrously preserved, I bring into your knowledge with my sufferings, fearful affrightments and heart-killing terrors. The great incendiary of Christendom, the absolutist abuser of true sanctity, fair peace, and holy order can be found in any part of the universal globe, who, making meek devotion keep the door, his lips being full of holy zeal at first, would have committed a foul rape upon me.
A rape. That's foul indeed. The very sound to our ear fouler than the offense itself to some kings of the earth.
Sir, to proceed, gladly I offered life to preserve honor, which would not be accepted without both, the chief of his ill aim being at mine honor, till heaven was pleased, by some unlooked-for accident, to give me courage to redeem myself.
When we find desperate sins in ill men's companies, we place a charitable sorrow there. But custom and their leprous inclination quits us of wonder, for our expectation is answered in their lives. But to find sin, yea, and a masterpiece of darkness, sheltered under a robe of sanctity, is able to draw all wonder to that monster only, and leave created monsters unadmired. The pride of him that first took for pride is to be angel-shaped and imitate the form from whence he fell. But this offender, far baser than sin's master, fixed by a vow to a holy order, which is angel's method, takes pride to use that shape to be a devil. It grieves me that my knowledge must be tainted with his infested name. Rather with a finger point him out.
The place which he should fill is void, my lord. His guilt hath scared him. The black bishop's pawn.
My pawn. The glory of his order, the prime and president, zealot of the earth. Impudent pawn, for thy sake at this minute modesty suffers, all that's virtuous blushes, and truth's self, like the sun vexed with a mist, looks red with anger.
Be not you drunk with rage too?
Sober sincerity, nor you with a cup spiced with hypocrisy.
You name their bishop, but your own Christmas bowl, your morning's drought. Next your episcopal heart, all the 12 days, which smack you cannot leave all the year after.
A shrewd retort has made our bishop smell of burning too. Would I stood farther off. Were't no impeachment to my honour or the game, would they play faster? White Knight, there is acknowledged from our house a reverence to you and a respect to that loved duke stands next you. With the favour of the White King and the forenamed respected, I combat with this cause. If, with all speed, waste not one syllable, unfortunate pawn, of what I speak. Thou dost not plead distraction, a plea which will but faintly take thee off, Nader, from this leviathan scandal that lies rolling upon the crystal waters of devotion, or, what may quit thee more, though enough nothing, fall down and foam, and by that pang discover the vexing spirit of falsehood strong within thee. Make thyself ready for perdition. There's no remove in all the game to escape it. This pawn, or this, the bishop or myself, will take thee in the end. Play how thou canst.
Spite of sin's glorious ostentation, and all loud threats, those thundercracks of pride, ushering a storm of malice, house of impudence, craft, and equivocation, my true cause shall keep the path it treads in.
I play thus then. Now, in the hearing of this high assembly, bring forth the time of this attempt's conception.
Conception, how tenderly you handle it.
It seems, Black Knight, you are afraid to touch it.
Well, its eruption, will she have it so then? Or you, white cleric, for her? The more unclean, viled, and more impious that you urge the strain to, the greater will her shame's heap show in the end, and the wronged, meek man's glory. The time, pawn.
Yesterday's cursed evening.
Oh, the treasure of my revenge I cannot spend all on thee. Ruin, despair for all thy kindred too. For honour's sake, call in more slanderers. I have such plentiful confusion, I know not how to waste it. I'll be nobler yet, and put her to her own house. King of meekness, take the cause to thee, for our hands too heavy. Our proofs will fall upon her like a tower and grind her bones to powder.
What new engine has the devil raised in him now?
It is he, and at that time, stand firm now to your scandal. Pray do not shift your slander.
Shift your treacheries. They've worn one suit too long.
That holy man so wrongfully accused by this lost pawn hath not been seen these 10 days in these parts.
Oh.
Nay, at this instant 30 leagues from hence.
Fathomless falsehood, will it scape unblasted?
Can you make this appear?
Light is not clearer. By his own letters, most impartial monarch.
How wrongfully may sacred virtue suffer, sir?
Bishop, we have a treasure of that false heart.
Step forth and reach those proofs.
Amazement covers me. Can I be so forsaken of a cause so strong in truth and equity? Will virtue send me no aid in this hard time of friendship?
There's an infallible staff and a red hat reserved for you.
Oh, sir, indeed.
A staff that will not easily break, you may trust to it. And such a one had your corruption need of. There's a state fate for you now.
Behold all, had a coherent one. I always held a charity so good to holiness professed, that I ever believed rather the accuser false than the professor vicious.
A charity, like all your virtues, else gracious and glorious.
Where settles the offence, let the fault's punishment be derived from thence. We leave her to your censure.
Most just majesty.
Calamity of virtue, my queen leaves me too. Am I cast off as the olive casts her flower? Poor friendless innocence, thou art left a prey to the devourer?
No, thou art not lost. Let him put on their bloodiest resolutions. If the fair policy I aim at prospers, thy counsel, noble Duke.
For that work cheerfully.
A man for speed now.
Let it be my honour, sir. Make me that flight that owes her my life's service.
Was not this brought about well for our honours?
Pish, that Galician brain can work out wonders.
Let's use her as upon the light discovery a maid was used at Venice. Every one be ready with a penance. Begin, majesty. Vessel of foolish scandal, take thy freight. Had there been in that cabinet of niceness half the virginities of the earth locked up, and all swept at one cast by the dexterity of a Jesuitical gamester, that not valued the least part of that general worth thou'st tainted.
First, I enjoin thee to a 3-day fast for it.
You're too penurious, sir. I'll make it 4.
Aye, to a 12 hours kneeling at one time.
And in a room filled all with Aretine's pictures, more than the 12 labours of luxury, of Lucrece dagger, peeping. Nay, I'll punish thee for a discoverer, I'll torment thy modesty.
After that 4 days' fast, the Inquisition House, strengthened with bread and water for worse penance.
Why, well said, noble bishop of our house, nobly aggravated.
Virtue, to show her influence more strong, fits me with patience, mightier than my wrong.
I know my pen draws blood of the Black House. There's never a book I write, but their cause bleeds, and hath lost many an ounce of reputation since I came on this side. I strike deep in and leave the orifex gushing where I come. But where's my advancement? All this while I've gaped for. I'd have some round preferment, corpulent dignity that bears some breadth and compass in the gift on't. I'm persuaded that this flesh would fill the biggest chair ecclesiastical if it were put to trial. To be made master of an hospital is but a kind of disease-bed-rid honour, or dean of the poor alms knights that wear badges. There's but 2 lazy, beggarly preferments in the White Kingdom, and I've got them both. My merit doth begin to be crop-sick for want of other titles.
Ooh, here walks his wholesome holiness, now for the master trick, done do him everlastingly. That's put home and make him hang in hell most seriously, jested with a halter upon me.
Black Knight, I must look to my play, then.
I bring fair greetings to your reverend virtues, from Cardinal Paulus, your most princely kinsman.
Our princely kinsman, sayest thou? We accept them. Pray keep your side and distance. I am chary of my episcopal person. I know the knight's walk in this game too well. He may skip over me. And where am I then?
There where thou shalt be shortly, if art fail not.
Right, reverend and noble, meaning me, our true kinsman in blood, but alienated in affection, your unkind disobedience to the mother cause provides at this time the only cause of your ill fortune. My present remove by general election to the papal dignity had now auspiciously settled you in my sede vacante. How? Had so, which at my next remove by death might have proved your step to supremacy. Oh, my blood mounts to my face to look upon this letter.
The pill works with him.
Think on seriously. It is not yet too late. Through the submiss acknowledgement of your disobedience, to be lovingly received into the brotherly bosom of the confident. This was the chair of ease I ever aimed at. I'll make a bonfire of my books immediately. All that are left against that side I'll sacrifice. Pack up my plate and goods and steal away by night at Watergate. 'Tis but penning another recantation and inventing 2 or 3 books against the White House, and then I'm in on the other side again as famous ere I was, as fat and flourishing. The Black Knight, expect a wonder ere't be long. Thou shalt see me one of the Black House shortly.
Your Holiness is merry with the messenger, too happy to be true. You speak what should be, if natural compunction touched you truly. Oh, you've drawn blood, lifeblood, laid blood of honour from your most dear, your primitive mother's heart. Your sharp invectives have been points of spears in her sweet tender sides, the unkind wounds which a son gives, a son of reverence, especially they rankle 10 times more than the adversaries. I tell you, sir, your reverend revolt did give the fearfulst blow to adoration our cause e'er felt. It shook the very statues, the urns and ashes of the sainted sleepers.
Forbear, I shall melt in the place I stand, and let forth a fat bishop in sad syrup. Suffices, I am yours, when they least dream on't. Ambition's fodder, power and riches draws me. When I smell honour, that's the lock of hay that leads me through the world's field every way.
Here's a sweet paunch to propagate belief on, like the foundation of a chapel laid upon a quagmire. I may number him now amongst my inferior policies and not shame him. But let me a little solace my designs with the remembrance of some brave ones past, to cherish the futurity of project, whose motion must be restless till that great work called the possession of the earth be ours. Was it not I procured a gallant fleet from the White Kingdom to secure our coasts against the infidel pirate under pretext of more necessitous expedition? Who made the jails fly open without miracle and let the locusts out, those dangerous flies whose property is to burn corn with touching? The heretics' granaries feel it to this hour, and now they've got amongst the country crops. They stick so fast to the converted ears, the loudest tempest that authority rouses will hardly shake 'em off. They have their dens in ladies' couches, their safe groves and fens. Nay, were they followed and found out by the scent, palm oil will make a pursuivant relent. Whose policy was't to put a silenced muzzle on all the barking tongue-men of the time, made pictures that were dumb enough before, poor sufferers in that politic restraint. My light spleen skips and shakes my ribs to think on't, whilst our drifts walk uncensored but in thought. A whistle or a whisper would be questioned in the most fortunate angle of the... No, sorry. Whilst our drifts walk uncensured but in thought, a whistle or a whisper would be questioned in the most fortunate angle of the world, the court hath held the city by the horns whilst I have milked her. I have got good sops too, from country ladies for their liberties, from some for their most vainly hoped preferment. High offices I there. I should not live but for this mel iraeum, this mirth manner. My pawn, how now, the news?
Expect none very pleasing that comes, sir, of my bringing. I'm for sad things.
My conscience is so tender-hoofed of late, every nail pricks it.
This may prick yours too, if there be any quick flesh in the ardent.
Mine? Oh, mischief must find a deep nail and a driver beyond the strength of any Machiavel the politic kingdom's fatten to reach mine. Prithee, compunction, needle pricked a little, unbind this sore wound.
Sir, your plot's discovered.
Which of the 20,905 canst tell?
Bless us, so many? How do poor countrymen have but one plot to keep a cow on, yet in law for that? You cannot know 'em all sure by their names, sir.
Yes, were their number trebled. Thou hast seen a globe stand on the table in my closet.
A thing, sir, full of countries and hard words.
True, with lines drawn, some tropical, some oblique.
I scarce can read, I was brought up in blindness.
Just such a thing. If ere my skull be opened, will my brains look like?
Like a globe of countries?
Aye, and some master politician that has sharp state eyes will go near to pick out the plots and every climate where they fastened. 'Twill puzzle 'em too.
I'm of your mind for that, sir.
They'll find 'em to fall thick upon some countries. They need use spectacles. But I turn to you now. What plot is that discovered?
Your last brat, sir, got betwixt the Black Bishop and yourself. Your antedated letters about the Jesuit.
Discovered how?
The White Knight's policy hath outstripped yours. Joined with the assistant counsel of his duke, the White Bishop's pawn undertook the journey, who, as they say, discharged it like a flight. I made him for the baseness fit and light.
'Tis but a bawdy pawn, out of the way, enough of them in all parts.
You have heard all then?
The wonders passed with me, but some shall down for it.
Let free that virtuous pawn from all her wrongs. Let her be brought with honor to the face of her malicious adversary.
Good.
Noble, chaste knight, a title of that candor, the greatest prince on earth without impeachment, may have the dignity of his worth comprised in this fair delivering act, virtue, will register in that white book of the defense of virgins, where the clear fames of all preserving knights are to eternal memory consecrated. And we embrace, as partner of that honor, this worthy duke, the counsel of the act, whom we shall ever place in our respect.
Most blessed of kings, throned in all royal graces, every good deed sends back its own reward into the bosom of the enterpriser. But you, to express yourself as well to be king of munificence as integrity, adds glory to the gift.
Thy deserts claim it, zeal and fidelity. Appear thou beauty of truth and innocence, best ornament of patience, thou that makes thy sufferings glorious.
I'll take no knowledge on't. What makes she here? How dares yond pawn, unpenanced with a cheek fresh as her falsehood yet, where castigation hath left no pale print of her visiting anguish, appear in this assembly? Let me alone. Sin must be bold. That's all the grace 'tis born to.
What's this?
I'm wonderstruck.
Assist me, goodness. I shall to prison again.
At least I've mazed 'em. Scattered the admirations of her innocence as the fired ships put in, severed the fleet in 88. I'll on with impudence is mischief's patrimony. Is this justice? Is injured reverence most sharply arighted? I ever held that majesty impartial that, like most equal heaven, looks on the manners, not the shapes they shroud in.
This Black Knight will never take an answer. 'Tis a victory to make him understand he does amiss, when he knows in his own clear understanding that he does nothing else. Show him the testimony confirmed by good men, how that foul attempter got but this morning to the place, from whence he dated his forged lines for 10 days past.
Why, may not the corruption sleep in this by some connivance, as you have waked in ours by too rash confidence?
I'll undertake that night shall teach the devil how to lie.
If Sin were half so wise as impudent, she'd ne'er seek further for an advocate.
Now, to act treachery with an angel's tongue. Since all's come out, I'll bring him strangely in again. Where is this injured chastity, this goodness whose worth no transitory peace can value, this rock of constant and invincible virtue that made sin's tempest weary of his fury?
What, is my pawn distracted?
I think rather there is some notable master prize of roguery this drum strikes for.
Let me fall with reverence before this blessed altar.
This is madness.
Well, mark the end. I stand for roguery still. I will not change my side.
I shall be taxed. I know. I care not what the Black House thinks of me.
What say you now?
I will not be unlaid yet.
However censure flies, I honour sanctity. That is my object. I intend no other. I saw this glorious and most valiant virtue fight the most noblest combat with the devil.
If both the bishops had been there for seconds, it had been a complete duel.
And thou heardst the violence intended.
'Tis a truth. I joy to justify. I was an agent on virtue's part, and raised that confused noise that startled his attempt, and gave her liberty.
Oh, 'tis a righteous story she hath told, sir. My life and fame stand mutually engaged, both to the truth and goodness of this pawn.
Doth it appear to you yet, clear as the sun?
Lass, I believed it long before it was done.
Degenerate!
Base!
Perfidious!
Traitorous pawn!
What? Are you all beside yourselves?
But I remember that pawn.
May a fearful barrenness blast both my hopes and pleasures, if I brought not her ruin in my pity, a new trap for her more sure confusion.
Have I won now? Did I not say 'twas craft and machination? I smelt conspiracy all the way it went, although the mess were covered. I'm so used to it.
That queen would I fain finger.
You're too hot, sir. If she were took, the game would be ours quickly. My aim's at that white knight, and trap him first. The duke will follow too.
I would that bishop were in my diocese. I'd soon change his whiteness.
Sir, I could whip you up a pawn immediately. I know where my game stands.
Do it suddenly. Advantage least must not be lost in this play.
Pawn, thou art ours.
Muted White Knight?
He's taken by default, by willful negligence. Guard the sacred persons, look well to the white bishop, for that pawn gave guard to the queen, and him in the third place.
See what sure peace you lock your confidence in. I made this pawn here by corruption ours, as soon as honour by creation yours. This whiteness upon him is but the leprosy of pure dissimulation. View him now. His heart and his intents are of our colour.
Oh,
Most dangerous hypocrite.
One made against us.
His truth is of this complexion.
Have my goodness, clemency, love, and favour gracious raised thee from a condition next to popular labour, took thee from all the dubitable hazards of fortune, her most unsecure adventures, and grafted thee into a branch of honour, and dost thou fall from the top bough by the rottenness of thy own alone corruption, like a fruit that's over-ripened by the beams of favour? Let thy own weight reward thee. I forgot thee. Integrity of life is so dear to me where I find falsehood or a crime trespass, be it in any whom our grace shines most on. I tear him from my heart.
Spoke like heaven's substitute.
You have him. We can spare him. And his shame will make the rest look better to their game.
The more cunning we must use then.
We shall match you, play how you can, perhaps, and make you too.
Is there so much amazement spent on him? That's but half black. There might be hope of that man. But how will this house wonder if I stand forth and show a whole one, instantly discover one that's all black where there's no hope at all?
I'll say thy heart then justifies thy books. I long for that discovery.
Look no further then. Bear witness, all the house, I am the man, and turn myself into the black house freely. I am of this side now.
Monster ne'er matched him.
This your noble work, knight?
Now I'll halter him.
Next news you hear, expect my books against you, printed at Douave, Brussels, or Spalatro.
See his goods seized on?
Alas, they were all conveyed last night by water to a tailor's house, a friend of the black cause.
Prepared hypocrite.
Premeditated turncoat.
Yes, rail on. I'll reach you in my writings when I'm gone.
Oh,
Flatter him a while with honours till we put him upon some dangerous service, and then burn him.
This came unlooked for.
How a joy to see you.
Now I'll discover all the White House to you.
Indeed, that will both reconcile and raise you.
I rest upon you, knight, for my advancement now.
Oh, for the staff, the strong staff that will hold, and the red hat fit for the guilty matter. Into the empty bag know thy first way. Pawns that are lost are ever out of play.
How's this?
No replications, you know me. No doubt, ere long, you'll have more company. The bag is big enough to hold us all.
I sue to thee, prithee, be one of us. Let my love win thee. Thou hast done truth this day, and yesterday my honor, noble service. The best pawn of our house could not transcend it.
My pity flamed with zeal, especially when I foresaw your marriage. Then it mounted.
Ridge.
That contaminating act would have spoiled all your fortunes. Array, God bless us.
Thou talkest of marriage?
Yes, yes, you do, Mary. I saw the man.
The man?
An absolute handsome gentleman, a complete one. You'll say so when you see him, heir to the 3 red hats, besides his general hopes in the black house.
Why, sure thou art much mistaken in this man. I've promised single life to all my affections.
Promise you what you will, or I, or all on's. There's the fate rules, and overrules us all, methinks.
How came you to see or know this mystery?
A magical glass I bought of an Egyptian, whose stone retains that speculated virtue, presented the man to me. Your name brings him as often as I use it, and methinks I never have enough. Person and postures are all so pleasing.
Oh, this is wondrous strange. The faculties of soul are still the same. I can feel no motion tend that way.
We do not always feel the faith we live by, nor ever see our growth, yet both work upward.
'Twas well applied, but may I see him too?
Surely you may, without all doubt or fear, observing the right use as I was taught it, not looking back, nor questioning the spectre.
That's no hard observation. Trust it with me. If possible, I long to see this man.
Pray follow me then, and I'll ease you instantly.
I would so fain take one of these white pawns now. I'd make him do all under drudgery, feed him with ass's milk crumbed with goat's cheese, and all the white meats could be devised for him. So make him my white jennet when I prance it after the black knight's litter.
And you'd look then just like the devil striding o'er a nightmare, made of a miller's daughter.
A pox on you! Were you so near? I'm taken like a blackbird in the great snow, this white pawn grinning o'er me.
And now, because I will not foul my clothes ever hereafter, for white quickly soils, you know.
Ha, I prithee, get thee gone then. I shall smut thee.
No, I'll put that to venture now I've snapped thee. Thou shalt do all the dirty drudgery that slavery was e'er put to.
I shall cozen you. You may chance come and find your work undone then, for I'm too proud to labor. I'll starve first, I'll tell you that beforehand.
And I'll fit you then with a black whip that shall not be behindhand.
Pish! I've been used to whipping. I have whipped myself 3 miles out of town in a morning, and I can fast a fortnight and make all your meat stink and lie on your hand.
And to prevent that, your food shall be blackberries, and on gaudy days, a pickled spider cut out like an anchovis. I'm not to learn a monkey's ordinary. Come, sir, will you frisk?
Soft, you. You had no such bargain on, if you look well about you.
I'm snapped too, a black pawn in the breach of me. We 3 look like a bird spit, a white chick between 2 russet woodcocks.
I'm so glad of this.
But you shall have but small cause, for I'll furk you.
I'll furk you again.
And I'll furk him again.
Mass, here will be odd old furking. I shall have the worst on it, for I can furk nobody. We draw together now for all the world like 3 flies with 1 straw through their buttocks.
This is the room he did appear to me in. And look you, this is the magical glass that showed him.
I find no motion yet. What should I think on it? A sudden fear invades me, a faint trembling under this omen, as is oft felt the panting of a turtle under a stroking hand.
That bodes good luck still. Sign you shall change state speedily, for that trembling is always the first symptom of a bride. For any vain fears that may accompany his apparition, by my truth to friendship, I acquit you of the least. Never was object more gracefully presented. The very air conspires to do him honor, and creates sweet vocal sounds, as if a bridegroom entered, which argues the blessed harmony of your loves.
And will the using of my name produce him?
Nay, of yours only, else the wonder halted. To clear you of the doubt, I'll put the difference in practice. The first thing I do, and make his invocation in the name of others.
'Twill satisfy me much, that.
It shall be done. Thou whose gentle form and face filled lately this Egyptic glass by the imperious powerful name and the universal fame of the mighty Black House Queen, I conjure thee to be seen. What? See you nothing yet?
Not any part. I try another.
You shall have your will. I double my command and power, and at the instant of this hour invoke thee in the White Queen's name, with stay for time and shape the same. What? See you yet?
There's nothing shows at all.
My truth reflects the clearer then. Now fix and bless your fair eye with your own forever. Thou well composed by the fates hand drawn, to enjoy the White Queen's born, of whom thou shalt by virtue met many graceful issues get, by the beauty of her fame, by the whiteness of her name, by her fair and fruitful love, by her truth that mates the dove, by the meekness of her mind, by the softness of her kind, by the lustre of her grace, by all these thou art summoned to this place. Hark, how the air enchanted with your praises, and his approach those words to sweet notes raises.
Oh, let him stay a while, a little longer.
That's a good hearing.
If he be mine, why should he part so soon?
Why, this is by the shadow of yours. How do you?
Oh, I did ill to give consent to see it. What certainty is in our blood or state? What we still write is blotted out by fate. Our wills are like a cause that is law tossed. What one court orders is by another crossed.
I find no fit place for this passion here. 'Tis merely an intruder. He is a gentleman most wishfully composed, honours grows on him, and wealth piled up for him, has youth enough too, and yet in the sobriety of his countenance, grave as a tetrarch, which is gracious in the eye of modest pleasure. Where's the emptiness? What can you more request?
I do not know what answer yet to make. It doth require a meeting twixt my fear and my desire.
She's caught, and which is strange, by her most wronger.
It's he, my confessor. He might have passed me 7 years together, had I not by chance advanced my eye upon that lettered hatband, the Jesuitical symbol to be known by, worn by the brave collegians with consent. 'Tis a strange habit for a holy father, a president of poverty especially, but we, the sons and daughters of obedience, dare not once think awry, but must confess ourselves as humbly to the father of that feather, long spur and poignard, as to the Alban altar, and happy we're so highly graced to attain to it. Holy and reverend!
How hast found me out?
Oh, sir, put on the sparklingest trim of glory, perfection will shine foremost, and I knew you by the Catholical mark you wear about you, the mark above your forehead.
You've grown so ambitious in your observance. Well, your business. I have my game to follow.
I have a worm follows me so that I can follow no game. The most faint-hearted pawn, if he could see his play, might snap me up at pleasure. I desire, sir, to be absolved. My conscience being at ease, I could then with more courage ply my game.
'Twas a base fact.
'Twas to a schismatic pawn, sir.
What's that to the nobility of revenge? It suffices, I have neither will nor power to give you absolution for that violence. Make a petition to the penance chamber. The tax register relieve you in by the Black Bishop's clemency. You've wrought out a singular piece of favour with your money. It's all your refuge now.
The sting shoots deeper.
Yonder's my game. It's like a politic chess master. I must not seem to see.
Oh, my heart, 'tis he,
That 'tis.
the very self same that the magical mirror presented lately to me.
And how like a most regardless stranger he walks by him, merely ignorant of his fate. You are not minded the principal part of him. What strange mysteries inscrutable love works by.
The time, you see, is not yet come.
It is in our power now to bring time nearer. Knowledge is a mastery, and make it observe us, and not we it.
I would force nothing from its proper virtue. Let time have his full course. I had rather die the modest death of undiscovered love than have heaven's least and lowest servant suffer, or in his motion receive check for me. How is my soul's growth altered? That single life, the fittest garment that peace ever made for it, is grown too strait, too stubborn on the sudden.
He comes this way again.
Oh, there's a traitor leapt from my heart into my cheek already. that will betray all to his powerful eye if it but glance upon me.
By my verity, look, he's passed by again, drowned in neglect, without the prosperous hint of so much happiness to look upon his fortune. How close fate seals up the eye of human understanding, till like the sun's flower, time and love unclose it. 'Twere a pity he should dwell in ignorance longer.
What will you do?
Yes, die a bashful death, do, and let the remedy pass by unused still. You are changed enough already, if you'd look into it. Absolute sir, with your most noble pardon, for this my rude intrusion, I am bold to bring the knowledge of a secret nearer by many days, sir, than it would arrive in its own proper revelation with you. Pray, turn and fix. Do you know your noble goodness?
'Tis the first minute mine eye blessed me with her, and clearly shows how much my knowledge wanted, not knowing her till now.
She's to be liked then. Pray, view advisedly. There is strong reason that I'm so bold to urge it. You must guess the work concerns you nearer than you think for.
The glory and the wonder of this secret puts a reciprocal amazement on me.
And 'tis not without worth. You two must be better acquainted.
Is there cause, affinity, or any courteous help creation joys in to bring that forward?
Yes, yes, I can show you the nearest way to that perfection of a most virtuous one that joy e'er found. Pray, mark her once again, then follow me, and I will show you her must be your wife, sir.
The mystery extends, or else creation hath set that admirable peace before us, to choose our chaste delights by.
Please you follow, sir.
What heart have you to put me on an object and cannot get me off? 'Tis pain to part from't.
If there prove no check in that magical glass now, but my proportion come as fair and full into his eye as his into mine lately, then I am confirmed he is mine own forever.
Spell same that the mirror blessed me with, from head to foot to beauty and the habit. Kept you this place still, did you not remove, lady?
Not a foot further, sir.
Is possible. I would have sworn I had seen the substance yonder. 'Twas to that lustre, to that life presented.
E'en so was yours to me, sir.
So you mine?
Perfectly clear. No sooner by thy name used, but yours appeared.
Just so did yours at mine now.
Why stand you idle? Will you let time cozen you? Protract between time of those delicious benefits that fate hath marked to you, you modest pair of blushing gamesters, and you, sir, the bashfulest. I cannot flatter foul fault in any. Can you be more than man and wife assigned, and by a power the most irrevocable? Others that be adventurous in delight may meet with crosses, shame, or separation. You know the mind of fate. You must be coupled.
She speaks but truth in this. I see no reason then that we should miss the relish of this night, but that we are both shamefaced.
Oh, this night, sir. Did not I know you must be mine, and therein your privilege runs strong, for that loose motion you never should be. Is it not my fortune to match with a pure mind? Then I am miserable. The doves and all chaste-loving winged creatures have their pairs fit, their desires justly mated. Is woman more unfortunate, a virgin, the May of woman? Fate that hath ordained, sir, we should be man and wife, hath not given warrant for any act of knowledge till we are so.
Tender-eyed modesty, how it grieves at this! I'm as far off for all this strange imposture as at first interview. Where lies our game now? You know I cannot marry, by mine order.
I know you cannot, sir, yet you may venture upon a contract.
Ah,
Surely you may, sir, without all question, so far, without danger, or any stain to your vow, and that may take her. Nay, do it with speed. She'll think you mean the better too.
Be not so lavish of that blessed spring. You've wasted that upon a cold occasion now would wash a sinful soul white. By our love-joys, that motion shall ne'er light upon my tongue more till we're contracted. Then I hope you are mine.
In all just duty ever.
Then, do you question it? Pish! Then you are man and wife, all but church ceremony. Pray, let's see that done first. She shall do reason then. Now I'll enjoy this sport and cozen you both. My blood's game is the wages I have worked for.
Pawn, I have spoke to the fat bishop for thee. I'll get the absolution from his own mouth. Reach me my chair of ease, my chair of cozenage. £7,000 in women. Reach me that. I love a life to sit upon a bank of heretic gold. Oh! Soft and gently, sirrah. There's a foul flaw at the bottom of my drum, Pawn. I shall ne'er make sound soldier, but sound treacher with any here in Europe. How now? Qualm? Thou hast the pukingst soul that e'er I met with. I cannot bear one suckling villainy. Mine can digest a monster without crudity, a sin as weighty as an elephant and never wamble forth.
Aye, you've been used to it, sir. That's a great help. The swallow of my conscience hath but a narrow passage. You must think yet it lies in the penitent pipe and will not down. If I'd got £7,000 by offices and gulled down that, the bore would have been bigger.
Nay, if thou provest facetious, I shall hug thee. Can a soft, rear, poor, poached iniquity so ride upon thy conscience? I'm ashamed of thee. Hadst thou betrayed the White House to the black, beggared a kingdom by dissimulation, unjointed the fair frame of peace and traffic, poisoned allegiance, set faith back, and wrought women's soft souls even up to masculine malice to pursue truth to death if the cause rouse them, that stares and parrots are first taught to curse thee.
Aye, marry, sir, here's swapping sins indeed.
All these and 10 times trebled hath this brain been parent to. They are my offsprings all.
A goodly brood.
Yet I can jest as lightly, laugh and tell stirring stories to court madams, daughters of my seducement, with alacrity as high and hearty as youth's time of innocence that never knew a sin to shape a sorrow by. I feel no tempest, not a leaf wind stirring to shake a fault. My conscience is becalmed, rather.
I'm sure there is a whirlwind hufts in mine, sir.
Sarah, I've sold the groom of the stoles 6 times, and received money of 6 several ladies ambitious to take place of baronets' wives, or to 3 old mummy matrons have I promised the mothership of the maids. I've taught our friends, too, to convey White House gold to our Black Kingdom in cold-baked pasties and so cousin searchers, for venting, hallowed oil, beads, medals, pardons, pictures, Veronica's heads in private presses. That's done by one in the habit of the peddler. Letters conveyed in rolls, tobacco balls. When a restraint comes, by my politic counsel, some of our Jesuits turned gentlemen ushers, some falconers, some park keepers, and some huntsmen. One took the shape of an old lady's cook once and dispatched 2 chores on a Sunday morning, the altar and the dresser. Pray, what use put I my summer recreation to? But more to inform my knowledge in the state and strength of the White Kingdom. No fortification, haven, creek, landing place about the White Coast, but I got the draft and platform, learned the depth of all their channels, knowledge of all sands, shelves, rocks, and rivers for invasion properest, a catalogue of all the Navy Royal, the burthen of each ship, the brassy murderers, the number of the men, to what cape bound, Again, for the discovery of the inlands, never a shire but the state better known to me than to her breast inhabitants. What power of men and horse, gentry's revenues, who well affected to our side, who ill, who neither well nor ill, all in neutrality. 38,000 souls have been seduced, born, since the jails vomited with the pill I gave them.
Sure, you put oil of toad into that physic, sir.
And now, about a masterpiece of play to entrap the White Knight, and with false allurements entice him to the Black House. More will follow, whilst our fat bishop sets upon the queen. Then will our game lie simply.
Oh, he's come now, sir.
Here's Tax Penitentiaria at night, the Book of General Pardons of prices I have been searching for his in this half hour and cannot light upon it.
That's strange. Let me see it.
Oh, wretched that I am! Hath my rage done that there is no precedent of pardon for?
For wilful murder, £13 4 shillings and sixpence. That's reasonable cheap. For killing Catholics who stood for us and who, such as they were indifferent or against us. Killing. Well, yes, nothing but killing, Bishop, on this side.
Turn the sheet over and you shall find adultery and other trivial sins.
Adultery? Oh, I'm in it now. For adultery, a couple of shillings. For fornication, 5p. Mass, these are 2 good pennyworths. I cannot see how a man can mend himself. Lying with mother, sister, or daughter. Oh, I marry, sir. £33 3 shillings and 3p. Well, sin's gradation, right? Paid all in threes too.
You've read the story of that monster, sir, that got his daughter, sister, and his wife of his own mother.
Simony, £9.
They may thank me for that. It was 19 before I came. I've mitigated many of their sums.
Sodomy, 6p. You should put that sum ever on the backside of your book, Bishop.
There's few uns very forward, sir.
What's here, sir? 2 old precedents of encouragement.
Aye, those are ancient notes.
Given as a gratuity for the killing of an heretical prince with a poisoned knife, ducats 5,000.
True, sir, that was paid.
Promised also to Dr. Lopez for poisoning the maiden queen of the White Kingdom, ducats 20,000, which said sum was afterwards given as a meritorious alms to the nunnery at Lisbon, having at this present £10,000 more at use in the town house at Antwerp.
What's all this to my conscience, worthy holiness? I sue for pardon. I brought money with me.
You must depart. You see, there is no precedent of any price or pardon for your fact.
Most miserable. Are fouler sins remitted? Killing, nay, wilful murder?
True, there's instance. Were you to kill him, I would pardon you. There's precedent for that, and price set down.
I've picked out understanding now forever out of that cabalistic bloody riddle. I'll make away all my estate and kill him, and by that act obtain full absolution.
Why, Bishop, Knight, where's your removes, your traps? Stand you now idle in the heat of game?
My life for yours, Black Sovereign, the game's ours. I have brought underhand for the White Knight and his brave duke, and find 'em coming both.
Then for their sanctimonious queen, surprisal, sir, in that straight puzzle and distracted hurry, trust my arch subtlety with.
Oh, eagle pride, never was game more hopeful of our side.
If Bishop Bullbeef be not snapped next bout as the men stand, I'll never trust art more.
And here we have a dumb show that occurs. A visual thing. Recorders play. Enter the Black Queen's pawn with a taper in her hand. She conducts the White Queen's pawn, who you can see here in her night attire, into one chamber. But then the Black Queen's pawn conveys the Black Bishop's pawn in his night habit into another chamber, and putting out the light, follows him in. Ooh.
True noble Duke, fair virtue's most endeared one, let us present their rank insinuation with truth of cause and courage, meet their plots with confident goodness that shall strike 'em groveling.
Sir, all the gins, traps, and alluring snares the devil hath been at work since 88 on are laid for the great hope of this game only.
Why, the more noble will truth's triumph be. When they have wound about our constant courages the glittering serpent that ere falsehood fashioned, and glorying most in his resplendent poisons, just heaven can find a bolt to bruise his head.
Look, would you see destruction lie a-sunning? In yonder smile sits blood and treachery basking, in that perfidious model of face, falsehood, hell is drawn grinning.
What a pain it is for truth to feign a little.
Oh, fair knight, the rising glory of that house of candour, have I so many protestations lost, quite lost? Am I not worthy of your confidence? I that avowed the faculties of soul, life, spirit, and brain to your sweet game of youth, your noble, fruitful game. Can you mistrust any foul play in me, that have been ever the most submiss observer of your virtues, and no way tainted with ambition, save only to be thought your first admirer? How often have I changed for your delight the royal presentation of my place into mimic jester, and become, for your sake and the expulsion of sad thoughts of a grave state-sire, a light son of pastime, made 80 years a tomboy, a mere wanton. I'll tell you what I told a Savoy dame once, new-wed, high-plumped, and lusting for an issue. Within the year I promised her a child, if she could stride over St. Brummald's breeches, a relic kept at Meshlin, the next morning. One of my followers, the old Holmes, was conveyed into her chamber, whereat she tried the feat. By that, and the court friend after grew great. I will change any shape to please you, and my aim hath been to win your love in all this game.
Thou hast it nobly, and we long to see the Black House pleasure, state, and dignity.
Of honour you'll so surfeit and delight, you'll ne'er desire again to see the white.
My love, my hope, my dearest. Oh, he's gone, ensnared, entrapped, surprised amongst the black ones. I never felt extremity like this. Thick darkness dwells upon this hour. Integrity, like one of heaven's bright luminaries, now by error's dullest element interposed, suffers a black eclipse. I never was more sick of love than now I am of horror. I shall be taken. The game's lost, I'm set upon. Oh, 'tis the turncoat bishop, having watched the advantage of his play, comes now to seize on me. Oh, I am hard beset, distressed most miserably.
'Tis vain to stir. Remove which way you can. I take you now. This is the time we've hoped for. Queen, you must down.
No rescue? No deliverance?
The Black King's blood burns for thy prostitution, and nothing but the spring of thy chaste virtue can cool his inflammation. Instantly he dies upon a pleurisy of luxury if he deflower thee not.
Oh, strait of misery.
And is your holiness his divine procurer?
The devil's in't. I'm taken by a ring dove. Where stood this bishop that I saw him not?
Oh, you are so ambitious you looked o'er me. You aimed at no less person than the queen. The glory of the game is she were won. The way were open to the master's check. Which, look you, he and his lives to give you. Honour and virtue, guide him to his station.
Oh, my safe sanctuary.
Let heaven's blessings be mine no longer, then I am thy sure one. The dove's house is not safer in the rock than thou, my firm bosom.
I am blessed in it.
Is it that lump of rank ingratitude swelled with the poison of hypocrisy? Could he be so malicious? Have partaken of the sweet, fertile blessings of our kingdom? Pawn, thou hast done our White House gracious service and worthy the fair reverence of thy place. Fat Bishop, for thee, black holiness, that workst out thy death, as the blind mole, the prosperous son of earth, who in the casting his ambitions hill up, is often taken and destroy the midst of his advanced work. 'Twere well with thee, if like that verminous labourer, which thou imitatest in hills of pride and malice, when death puts thee up, the silent grave might prove thy bag forever. No deeper pit than that, for thy vain hope of the white knight and his most firm assistant, 2 princely pieces, which I know thy thoughts give lost forever now, my strong assurance of their fixed virtues, could you let in cease of populist untruths against that fort, would burst the proudest billows.
My fears past then.
Fear, you were never guilty of an injury to goodness, but in that.
It stayed not with me, sir.
It was too much if it usurped the thought. Place a strong guard there.
Confidence is set, sir.
Take that prize hence. Go, reverend of men, put covetousness into that bag again.
The bag had need be sound, or it goes to rack. Sin and my weight will make a strong one crack.
Hang on a minute. Hold! Hold! Is the Black Bishop's pawn, the Jesuit, planted above for his concise oration?
Ecce triumphantas mi fixum casaris ace.
Hark there, my holy boy. Sarah, Bishop Tumbrel is snapped in the bag by this time.
Heretici periant sic.
All Latin. Sure, the oration hath infected him. Away! Away! Make haste, they're coming!
Siquid mortalibus unquam oculis hilarum et gratum aperuit diem. Siquid paramantibus amicorum animis gaudium adtulit peritve laetitia. Eques candidissime. Preluentissime. Felicem profecto tuum ad domo candoris at domum nigritudinis accessum promississe. Peperis, atulisse fatemur, omnes adventis tui conflagrantissimi, omnia quapussimus laetitia gaudio congratulone, acclamatione animus observantissimus, affectibus devotissimus, obsequius venerabundis, te suspitem congratulamo.
Sir, in this short congratulatory speech, you may conceive how the whole house affects you.
The colleges and sanctimonious seed plots.
White Knight, do we have a knight?
'Tis clear and so acknowledged, royal sir.
What honours pleasures, rarities, delights your noble thought can think.
Your fair eye fix on that's comprehended in the spacious circuit of our black kingdom, they're your servants all.
How amply you endear us.
They are favors that equally enrich the royal giver as the receiver in the free donation.
Hark the kazoo. To enlarge your welcome from all parts is heard sweet-sounding airs, abstruse things open the voluntary freeness, and yon altar, the seat of adoration, seems to adore the virtues you bring with you.
There's a taste of the old vessels still.
The erroneous relish.
Wonder works some strange delight, this place was never yet without, to welcome their fair White House night, and to bring our hopes about. May the altar flames aspire, those tapers set themselves on fire. May senseless things our joys approve, and those brazen statues move, quickened by some power above, or what more strange, to show our love.
A happy omen waits upon this hour. All move portentously the right-hand way.
Come, let's set free all the most choice delights that ever adorned days or quickened nights.
I see 'twas but a trial of my duty now. He has a more modest mind, and in that virtue most worthily hath fate provided for me. Ha, 'tis the bad man in the reverend habit. He dares he be seen again, traitor to holiness, marble-fronted impudence, and knows how ill he hath used me. I'm ashamed he blushes not.
Are you yet stored with any woman's pity? Are you the mistress of so much devotion, kindness, and charity, as to bestow an alms of love on your poor sufferer, yet for your sake only?
Sir, for the reverend respect you ought to give to Sanctity, though none to me, in being her servant vowed, and wear her livery, if I might counsel, you should never speak the language of unchasteness in that habit. You would not think how ill it doth with you. The world's a stage on which all parts are played. You'd think it most absurd to see a devil presented there, not in a devil's shape, or wanting one, to send him out in yours. You'd rail at that for an absurdity. No college e'er committed. For decorum's sake, then, for pity's cause, for sacred virtue's honor, if you'll persist still in your devil's part, present him as you should do, and let one that carries up the goodness of the play come in that habit, and I'll speak with him. Then will the parts be fitted, and the spectators know which is which. They might have cunning judgments to find it else, for such a one as you is able to deceive a mighty audience. Nay, those you seduced, if there be any in the assembly, when they see what manner you play your game with me, they cannot love you. Is there so little hope of you? To smile, sir.
Yes, at your fears, at the ignorance of your power, the little use you make of time, youth, fortune, knowing you have a husband for lust's shelter. You dare not yet make bold with a friend's comfort, which is the plague of weakness.
So hot burning, the syllables of sin fly from his lips as if the letter came new cast from hell.
Well, setting by the dish you loathe so much, which hath been heartily tasted by your betters, I come to marry you to the gentleman that last enjoyed you. If that pleases you, there's no immodest relish in that office.
Strange of all men he should first light on him to tie that holy knot that sought to undo me. Were you requested to perform that business, sir?
I name you a sure token.
As for that, sir, now you're most welcome, and my fair hopes of you, you'll never break the sacred knot. you tie once with any lewd soliciting hereafter.
But all the crafts and getting of it knit. You're all on fire to make your cousining market. I'm the marrier and the man. Do you know me? Do you know me? Nice iniquity, strict luxury, and holy whoredom. I would clap on marriage with all hot speed to solder up your game. See what a scourge fate hath provided for thee. You were a maid. Swear still you're no worse now. I left you as I found you. Oh, have I startled you? Quit with you now for my discovery, your outcries and your cunnings. Farewell, brokage.
Nay, stay and hear me but give thanks a little, if your ear can endure a work so gracious. Then you may take your pleasure.
I have done that.
That power that hath preserved me from this devil.
How?
This that may challenge the chief chair in hell and sit above his master.
Bring in merit.
That suffers him through blind lust to be led last night to the action of some common bed.
Not overcommon neither.
What voice is this?
Of virgins, be thou ever honored. Now, you may go. You hear I've given thanks, sir.
It's a strange game. Did I not lie with you?
No.
Who the devil art thou?
I will not answer you, sir, after Thanksgiving.
Why, you made promise to me after the contract.
Yes.
Oh, mischief confound thee! I speak not to thee. And you were prepared for it and set your joys most high.
Then you could reach, sir.
Oh, this is some bawdy porn. I'll slit the throat on't.
What? Offer violence to your bedfellow? To one that works so kindly without rape?
My bedfellow.
Do you plant your scorn against me? Why, when I was probationer at Brussels, that engine was not known. Then adoration filled up the place, and wonder was in fashion, is turned to the wild seed of contempt so soon. Can 5 years stamp aboard? Pray look upon me, sir. I've youth enough to take it. 'Tis no longer since you were chief agent for the transportation of ladies' daughters, if you be remembered. Some of their portions I could name. Who pursed them, too? They were soon dispossessed of worldly cares that came into your fingers.
Shall I hear her?
Holy derision, yes, till thy ears swell with thine own venom, thy profane life's vomit. Whose niece was she you poisoned with child? Twice? Then gave her out possessed with a foul spirit, when 'twas indeed your bastard?
Taken in mine own toils.
Yes, and 'tis just you should be.
And thou, lewd pawn, the shame of womanhood.
I'm lost of all hands.
And I cannot feel the weight of my perdition. Now he's taken. 'Tis not the burden of a grasshopper.
Thou whore of order, cockatrice in voto.
Yon's the White Bishop's pawn. I'll play its heart now.
How now, black villain? Wouldst thou heap a murder on thy first foul offence? You merciless bloodhound, 'tis time that thou wert taken.
Death prevented!
For thy sake and that partner in thy shame, I'll never know man farther than by name.
You have enriched my knowledge, royal sir, and my content together.
Instead of riot, we set you only welcome. Surfeit is a thing that's seldom heard of in these parts.
I hear of the more virtue when I miss on't.
We do not use to bury in our bellies 200,000 ducats and then boast on't, or exercise the old Roman painful idleness with care of fetching fishes far from home, the golden-headed coracine out of Egypt, the salper from Abusus, or the pelamis, which some call summer whiting, from Chalcedon, salmons from Aquitaine, elops from Rhodes, cockles from Chios, franked and fatted up with fire and saper, flour and cocted wine. We cram no birds, nor Epicurean-like enclose some creeks of the sea as Sergius Arata did, he that invented the first stews for oysters and other sea fish, who, besides the pleasure of his own throat, got large revenues by the invention, whose fat example the nobility followed. Nor do we imitate that arch gormandizer with 22 courses at one dinner, and betwixt every course he and his guests washed and used women, then sat down and strengthened lust, swimming in their dishes, which no sooner was tasted but ready to be vented.
Most impious epicures.
We commend rather of two extremes the parsimony of Pertinax, who had half lettuces set up to serve again, or his successor Julian, that would make 3 meals of a lean hare and often sup with a green fig and wipe his beard as we can. The old bewailers of excess in those days complained that there was more coin bid for a cook than for a war horse, but now cooks are purchased after the rate of triumphs, and some dishes after the rate of cooks, which must needs make some of your White House gormandizers, especially your wealthy plump plebeians, like the hogs which Scaliger cites that could not move for fat, so insensible of either prick nor goad that mice made holes to needle in their buttocks and they ne'er felt 'em. There was once a ruler, Cyrene's governor, choked with his own paunch, which death fat Sanctius king of Castile, fearing through his infinite mass of belly, rather chose to be killed suddenly by a pernicious herb taken to make him lean, which old Cordoba, king of Morocco, counselled his fear to, than he would hazard to be stunk to death as that huge cormorant that was choked before him.
Well, you're as sound a spokesperson, sir, for parsimony, clean abstinence, and scarce 1 meal a day, as ever spake with tongue.
Censure him mildly, sir. 'Twas but to find discourse.
He'll raised of anything.
I shall be half afraid to feed hereafter.
Or I beshrew my heart, for I fear fatness, the fog of fatness, as I fear a dragon. The comeliness I wish for, that's as glorious.
Your course is wondrous strict. I should transgress, sure, were I to change my side, as you've much wrought me.
How you misprize! This is not meant to you, you that are wound up to the height of feeding by clime and custom are dispensed withal. You may eat kid, cabrito, calf, and tons, eat and eat every day, twice, if you please. Nay, the franked hen, fattened with milk and corn, a riot which the inhabitants of Dios were first inventors of, or the crammed cockle.
Well, for the food I'm happily resolved, but for the diet of my disposition there comes a trouble. You will hardly find food to please that.
Must be a strange nature we cannot find a dish for, having policy, the master cook of Christendom, to dress it. Pray, name your nature's diet.
The first mess is hot ambition.
That's but served in puff paste. Alas, the meanest of our cardinal's cooks could dress that dinner. Your ambition, sir, can fetch no farther compass than the world?
That's certain, sir.
We're about that already. And in the large feast of our vast ambition, we count but the white kingdom whence you came from, the garden for our cook to pick his salads. The foods lean France, larded with Germany, before which comes the grave, chaste seigneury of Venice, served in, capon-like, in white broth, from our chief oven. Italy, the baked meats, Savoy, the salt, Geneva, the chipped manchet, below the salt, the Netherlands, are placed a common dish at lower end of the table. for meaner pride to fall to. For our second course, a spit of Portugals served in for plovers, Indians and Moors for blackbirds. All this while, Holland stands ready melted to make sauce on all occasions. When the voider comes, and with such cheer our full hopes we suffice, Zealand says grace for fashion, then we rise.
Here's meat enough in conscience for ambition.
If there be any want, there's Switzerland, Polonia, and such pickled things will serve to furnish out the table.
You say well, sir, but here's the misery. I tell you in private.
Oh, we're your cabinets.
When I have stopped the mouth of one vice, there's another gapes for food. I am as covetous as a barren womb, the grave, or what's more ravenous.
We're for you, sir. Call you that heinous that's good husbandry? Why, we make money of our faith, our prayers. We make the very deathbed buy her comforts, most dearly pay for all her pious counsels, leave rich revenues for a few weak orisons, or else they pass unreconciled without 'em. Did you but knew the vaults within our monasteries, you'd swear then Plutus, whom the fiction calls the Lord of Riches, were entombed within 'em.
You cannot walk for tons.
It's possible.
But how shall I bestow the vice I bring, sirs? You quite forget me. I shall be shut out by your strict key of life.
Is yours so vile, sir?
Some that are pleased to make a wanton aunt call it infirmity of blood, fresh, frailty. But certain there's a worse name in your books for't.
The trifle of all vices, the mere innocent, the very novice of this house of clay, Venery. If I but hug thee hard, I show the worst on't. 'Tis all the fruit we have here after supper. Nay, at the ruins of a nunnery once, 6,000 infants' heads found in a fish pond.
How?
Aye, how? How came they hither, think you? Uldric, Bishop of Augsburg, in his epistle to Nicholas I, can tell you how. Maybe he was at cleansing of the pond. I can but smile to think how it would puzzle all mother maids that ever lived in those parts to know their own child's head. But is this all?
Are you ours yet?
One more, and I am silenced. But this that comes now will divide us questionless. 'Tis 10 times worse than the forerunners.
Is it so vile there is no name ordained for't? Toads have their titles, and creation gave serpents and adders those names to be known by.
This of all others bears the hiddenest venom, the smoothest poison.
How?
'Tis my nature's brand. Turn from me, sir. The time is yet to come that ere I spoke what my heart meant.
And call you that a vice? Avoid all profanation, I beseech you. The only prime state virtue upon earth, the policy of empires. Oh, take heed, sir, for fear it take displeasure and forsake you. It is a jewel of that precious value whose worth's not known but to the skilful lapidary. The instrument that picks open princes' hearts and locks up ours from them with the same motion. You never came so near our souls till now.
Now you're a brother to us.
What we have done hath been dissemblance ever.
There you lie then. There you lie then, and the game's ours. We give thee checkmate by discovery. King, the noblest mate of all.
I'm lost. I'm taken.
Ah!
Ambitious, covetous, luxurious falsehood.
Dissembler includes all.
All hopes confounded.
Miserable condition.
Oh, let me bless mine arms with this dear treasure. Its glorious masterpiece. See, within my bosom safe, and its fair structure of comely honor is true blessed assistant.
May their integrities ever possess that powerful sanctuary.
As 'twas a game, sir, one with much hazard, so with much more triumph we gave him checkmate by discovery, sir.
Security is now the fittest favor falsehood can sue for, well suits perdition. 'Tis their best course, that so have they lost their fame, to put their heads into the bag of shame. And there, behold, the bag's mouth like hell opens to take her due. And the lost sons appear, greedily gaping for increase of fellowship in infamy, the last desire of wretches, advancing their perdition-branded foreheads like envy's issue or bed of snakes.
Too apparent. The game's lost. King taken.
The White House has given us the bag. Thank 'em.
They have need give you a whole bag by yourself. Svut. This fat bishop hath so overlaid me, so squelched and squeezed me, I have no verjuice left in me. You shall find all my goodness, if you look for it, in the bottom of the bag.
Now, malapert pawn, the bishop must have room. He will have room, and room to lie at pleasure.
All the bag, I think, is room too scant for your spalatro, paunch.
Down, viper of our order. I abhor thee. Thou show thy whorish front.
Yes, monster holiness.
Contention in the pit. Is hell divided?
You need have some majesty and power to keep good rule amongst you. Make room, Bishop.
I'm moved when I'm once set. I scorn to stir for any king on earth.
Here comes the queen. What say you then to her?
Indeed, a queen may make a bishop stir.
Room for the mightiest Machiavel politician that e'er the devil hatched of a nun's egg.
He'll peck a hole in the bag and get out shortly, but I shall be the last man that creeps out, and that's the misery of greatness ever.
Room for a sunburnt, tansy-faced beloved and olive-coloured Ganymede, and that's all that's worth the begging.
Out in all you can. The bishop will still be uppermost man, maugre king, queen, or politician.
Tut tut, so now let the bag close. The fittest room for treachery, pride, and malice, whilst we win alike, destroying through heaven's power what would destroy. Welcome our white knight with loud peals of joy.
Yay!
My mistress, the White Queen, hath sent me forth and bade me bow thus low to all of worth that are true friends of the White House and cause, which she hopes most of this assembly draws. For any else, by envy's mark denoted, to those night glowworms in the bag devoted, where'er they sit, stand, or in private lurk, they'll be soon known by their depraving work. But she's assured what they'll commit to bane, her white friends' hands will bring up fair again.
And they all lived happily ever after. In hell, some of them are in the bag. Closest equivalent. Okay. It's our second time getting through the whole play. This iteration, by starting midway through Act 2 here, I think did give the second half its due. I felt last time we said that it was like we were mid-flow and we started and it felt very weird and it didn't feel like the action flowed very naturally. Whereas actually, I keep talking about how this is quite a weird play, but actually running it through from that point through to the end, the action flowed very naturally. Actually, it felt like every plot point was moving on to the next plot point. And actually, perhaps our problem with the shape of the play is more just looking at it on the page. Obviously, there's a dumb show we didn't fully enact there, where more things would be clearer. But yeah, even though on paper that where the the plot with the White Queen's pawn goes after the trial scenes. It is a bit weird, but it flowed very naturally in the play, and I felt that actually worked. That gave it a really nice shape, and hopefully for our future runs, which will all be in one session, albeit with a shorter text, we will get a better sense of that and that flow of action. So yeah, that was in many ways the most satisfying. It also helps that some of us have done this several times. What I found, I'm just vamping, by the way, while I wait for people to come up with their own thoughts, but I do have one definite thought. Was we were saying last time that as we started going over some text again, there were bits going, oh, I understand this better, I'm with this more, and there were definitely bits this time where I was going, oh yeah, I'm following this more, I'm enjoying this more. I don't think the Black Knight's final scene is more enjoyable the second time around. Because he's doing this orating at great length. And actually, the second time around, you're sort of going, actually, no, there isn't a lot of substance to what he's saying here. It's the same invective that he's done rather a lot. And actually, that starts to be quite annoying a second time around. Whereas I think the first time around, there was something quite interesting there, and I was sort of going with it. So that's an interesting question about seeing something more than once, what actually feeds and what actually pushes us away. That's not a criticism, by the way, of the performance. It was probably technically better, but it's just the second time around I'm going, am I interested in what this invective is doing here? And the answer was less so. Alan, then Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, following up your comment on some of it when we went through the second, third time did make more sense. I just wonder whether that explains why it was so popular over a very short run, of people coming out the first time going, what the went on there? I'll have to go back and see it again.
Well, I mean, I suspect. Well, it's an interesting question because I was asking. It's also there's two novel things there. It's the potentiality of an audience having a really concentrated opportunity to see a show more than once. The disadvantage for that is, of course, everybody's doing it, and it's clearly very hard to get into the show again because it sells out so quickly. But the other thing is the actors get a chance to do a play in a row, and they don't often get that opportunity. There's usually 2 weeks between performances. Less clear on tour how often they might be doing the same play one after another, because it depends which each town might be interested in. So yeah, that sort of effect. I suspect it was a lot easier to unpack for the early modern audience than for us. But that might be part of it. Yeah, just people came back going, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't quite sure why this happened. Stephen.
I'm interested in the Hellmouth thing and how that interacts with the topicality of the play, because Hellmouth is hundreds and hundreds of years old, and Faustus is still playing in the northern suburbs at this time, and so it's a kind of strangely meta thing to have at the end of your play, and it seems to me a little bit like it's a kind of well, it's doing various things. It's a kind of in-joke, but it's also, I think, an interesting placement right at the end of this very topical play to have something so ridiculous. We have a hell mouth, but everybody is jostling each other because it's a bag, and people are being squeezed so much that all the kind of vital fluids are to be found at the bottom of the bag. So it's kind of fairly basic physical comedy at the point where, you know, we've up until now we've had a certain amount of moustache twiddling, but there is this kind of, you know, international Catholic conspiracy vibe going on, and then all of a sudden it would be like watching a film and then the last 2 minutes, you know, goes anime or something like that. It's just a real shift formally, and I'm wondering if it's something to do with it's a kind of perhaps over subtle and over ironized way of recognizing and defending against accusations that might be made about the topicality of the play.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting also that the Hellmouth bag is not in the original schema. So in the the earlier versions of the play, that's not necessarily there. They get taken at the end, and then the the text at that point relatively abruptly stops. And that's not to say it wasn't originally part of the scheme. We might not have just got round to writing that bit yet. They certainly refer to the bag earlier, but it might just be that the ending's not powerful enough. They get taken, checkmate. Is that it? Let's hang on. We've talked about chess pieces getting put in the bag. Let's put it in the bag, and then that maybe there's a sort of series of conversations about. Now, hang on, a bag. Isn't that a bit like a hand? And how do they stage the bag as well? I mean, that's because I've been doing this almost like that. Our heads are all sort of popping up.
Yeah,
and
be
that's
the trap. I think
it's suggested in the text that they're sort of heads and foreheads popping up and down, and it's a bit like whack-a-mole or something. But yeah, precisely how you do that is really interesting, and I'm so glad I don't have to stage it properly when we do it. We don't have a trap. Yeah, other thoughts. Dan, are you waving?
Well, just had a thought about the Hellmouth, because the Hellmouth was a prop in what's famously known as Philip Hensler's Diary, props that were used at the Rose Playhouse. And so this was a thing, you had mentioned already Dr. Faustus, and there were other plays too, like Looking Glass in London and England, where there's a whale, Jonah's whale, for example. And somebody had come up with this idea recently where they did this virtual Hellmouth of what it might have looked like, which of course did incorporate the trap, but it was some sort of big contraption type, I guess, large thing that was settled over the trap so that people can go into it, but not necessarily defend all the way. Even if the Hellmouth wasn't like necessarily named in the text, there are other pieces that have already gone in earlier. So I imagine it wasn't just sprung on the audience at the end. They've already seen it earlier on. So it's not, there's this Deus Ex Machina or something like that. It's like, no, we've seen it already. It's already a bit of a gag. And I think it's a nice callback to the whole vice figure with the Black Knight. And it's an association that everyone can make easily. For those who don't understand or are having trouble with who's who, I don't think people are going to have trouble with the Black Knight, especially when you start to equate such and such character with other ones. And there was somebody had brought that up earlier about the seduction or the entrapment of the white pawn. That's also a familiar figure to audiences of Europe.
Yeah, and you could have. I mean, the thing about a bag is if it can be basically made of cloth, then it can. There could be different iterations. There could be an upstage central bag option for when it's a little more fiddly to put them in, to open a trap. They can just be pushed upstage through a curtain. And then you can have the big reveal for the final scene because it's the final scene and you don't have to tidy it up afterwards in quite the same way. You need to descend it, but you don't necessarily need to completely clear all of its mechanism. So, yeah, an upstage sort of discovery space option might be the kind of logic. Other thoughts for those who've read the same characters or just watched the journey of characters? Were there bits that people leapt on more or less this time? Because there's certainly bits that I thought flowed really nicely today. I was certainly feeling the whole the whole thing about working our way through the various options of being forgiven. I thought that danced quite nicely today, and that sort of did.
I really enjoyed that bit too, and it really got clear for me in a way it hadn't before, in the way that it was not just a satire on Catholicism and indulgences and whatnot, but a genuine moment of, wait, I can't be forgiven for this. Why can't I be forgiven for this? That was fun.
Yeah, and it was sort of it's taken me about 2 times now to just sort of figure out. Oh no, that's where I need to be reacting to all of this stuff going on. Just like going, hang on, no, you're not. You've stopped talking about me. Can we get back to the point? And so yeah, that's really useful for me for the end of the week when we do it live. Alan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. There are 2 or 3 scenes in there which look as if they're almost dropped in. I mean, you've got the scene between the 3 pawns, which don't seem to connect much with anything else going on, but it's a nice little, very short skit almost.
Mm.
And I think there was another episode that I felt was similar, and I can't remember quite which bit it was now. But I'm just wondering whether these were sort of bits that were left around. You know, they were there in the background. Oh well, we'll shove them in anyway.
I don't think you can just shove the porn scene in because it's full of wordplay and connection to pieces. And I have seen a modern edition which doesn't feature that scene and lets the previous bit run straight into the next, which you can do. I don't know if that actually comes directly from one of the earlier versions. Dan will be more authoritative on that.
The earliest, what's called the earliest version of it, which is what it's referred to as the Archdale text. It does not have the Fat Bishop, also does not have the Black Jesting poem.
So, there is another one which does have that, but doesn't have the Fat Bishop. This is the problem of iterations. So obviously it was felt that they needed something in there and it gets added. And so that's something Middleton comes up with in the process of writing the play. So that is the only one where there is no real plot function. Everything else is connected to the plot in some way. And actually it's trying to unpiece this for different versions of the script. It's quite interesting how the spine of the play is the White Queen's porn narrative. It dominates. It is the majority of the play. It doesn't always appear to that when you look at the text, but everybody else is sort of doing turns. So the Black Knight is doing turns. That's sort of why his material isn't quite as fun the second or third time, because it's a turn. It doesn't necessarily have more additional character value. He's just doing things in the same way as the Fat Bishop. Actually, after a while, is basically doing the same gag, and it's a turn rather than necessarily plot function all of the time. It is in character. The Black Knight has to be verbose because that's how they catch him at the end. He speaks too much and eventually, gives himself enough rope to hang himself. Aliki.
So do you think there's a draft of a city comedy or something that got repurposed to this pawns and queens and rooks metaphor?
Maybe. I don't know. I definitely think that the first half of the plot sort of fits, maybe not city comedy, because it does involve someone in power abusing power and the way but that's my feeling, is that plot came from what existed and then got co-opted. But it could have all come directly from that. It's just that plot line doesn't really feel topical in the way that everything else is. All of the other turns, when we're talking about turns, people come on and say satire. But the plot isn't satire. Nothing in the plot is particularly satirical. There's the ghost of a hint of satire in the White Knight and the White Duke's journey to the Black House, which is a bit like the Spanish Match journey that Buckingham and Charles make. But apart from that, the plot isn't satirical at all. What people say is satirical. And again, that's the thing that everyone keeps looking at, is what people are saying rather than what they are doing. And that's quite a different ball game in terms of the play. And this is where the bias that tends to happen with plays like this is how it reads rather than how it runs and how it acts. And that's, again, what this process is trying to start to unpick a little bit. But that isn't to say there isn't quite a lot of satire in here that we just need to do something with. Any additional thoughts? We've got bags of time, though I will happily close early if we need to. Simon, this is your first run at it with us across the two roles. Any thoughts leaping out at you?
I even when I first read, I know you were saying you guys were going to get a little bored of the Black Knight, but I actually really enjoy all his long monologues, and I think that's going to be part of the joy, maybe even of Sunday, is hearing how that's done. But I think that when I first read it, that was actually the thing that really stood out for me. And the Belly's speech is not only topical for me right now, but but also I think a particularly good piece of I was going to say dialogue of script. So that's the thing that stands out for me. I too was thinking about how the hell you stage the bag even when we were reading it. So I'd be intrigued if there was another way other than a trap or a giant piece of cloth, or a modern way would be chuck everyone into an orchestra pit. So but yeah, those are really my main kind of takeaways. It's I find myself every time, weirdly enough, and this is the first time hearing it, I just listen to the Black Knight speeches more than anything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what appealed to me, because in an ideal world, the Black Knight is my part. More ha 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 ha. But because it appeals to an actor to go, these are great speeches, aren't they? Great, they're great. But I say it is that interesting thing once you've done the play a few times of going, okay, am I getting as much joy out of it as I get the first time? And of course, it doesn't matter for the audience if they're only going to see it once, and most people only go and see plays once in real terms, then that's fine. So I really think it will land on Sunday. I really think it will.
Yeah, and I think
it's bouncing along really nicely. As I say, it genuinely wasn't technically. I think Keith was probably more on that today than in his previous run, because he's had a chance to have a go at it. It's just familiarity now with the text, which is creating a different response from me as a viewer.
And if I may, just the final thing for me, I think that the text is all, because I don't think there's a massive amount of development in the piece. There's not, what's going to happen next? I think we all probably know where it's going. So it's really just about hearing and playing with the text for an audience, for me personally.
I think yes, except for the magic mirror sequence, where I genuinely think the audience might be going, what the hell's what's going to happen here? And I'm really curious to see how that will land, because I actually think that will actually do some really interesting things in practice, that when you read it you go, oh, I have some reservations about this sequence. There are lots of reservations about that sequence. I suspect actually it will function very well. I'm worried about the fact we have an interval, but we still have to have an interval. And yeah, so that's what that will be. Any other thoughts before I close the session? Dan?
This is a completely undeveloped thought, but I want to know, I mean, there's already history about, this is not the first time that chess has been depicted or talked about in plays, or even just printed on the page. In William Caxton's edition from the 15th century, for example, or 16th century, for example, there's a depiction of a chessboard. But I want to know what the popularity of chess is at that moment, because if I know that chess is going to be depicted on stage and chess is booming at this moment, I might want to see it just for that, and for the topicality of the play, because it's my favorite game. So it's just something I'm thinking about, to draw people into a play, because you're not necessarily, you may be going for political intrigue, or you may be going because you like chess.
Well, we're at the end of day 3. The Spanish ambassador has now written a very angry letter to the king. He is not happy. He is not a happy bunny, and the king is himself not going to be desperately happy about what's been going on in London while he's been out of town. We will discover more about that next time. However, technically, this is Saturday, and tomorrow is Sunday in our chronology of how we're doing these readings, so the players get a day off for everyone to stew on the controversy, and we will return anon in some fashion for future days in this sequence, either here or maybe in audio form on our Patreon. So keep an eye out for the numbering. The numbering of these may be slightly may involve a gap here. All that remains to thank all our wonderful readers, those still with us and those gone. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Fathomless falsehood.